Hello and welcome to the 51st episode of the Saints
Hey,
Podcast. There we go. It's with me, Ollie, and I'm also joined with.
Harry.
Yep.
Jamie Allen.
And
Mikey.
so we've got loads to come up in this episode. We've got absolutely loads. We've got questions that always get sent in. Mikey's going to give us our transfer rumours and the press conference summary because we did actually catch it this week. Harry also went to the exclusive fans forum, so he's going to sum some of those up for us as well, and we'll also give our Leicester preview and predictions and a couple of other little bits and bobs, couple news pieces and bits like that also came up. So it's jam packed this episode, but we're also going to go into the questions first. Now, Harry, while you're getting them up, how can I get them in?
Saints Prime on the Instagram. We'll rip through them as quickly as possible because we've got a lot of things to go through. Ollie is first with not you, Ollie.
Not me.
Different Ollie.
Different
How
Ollie.
much would you take for Yannick Vestergaard? Right now, he's going straight into the transfer endeavours. How much would you take for him?
15 mil?
10
That much? 15.
I'd take 10 or 12 because you probably think there's still add-ons there that we've got him for 18. So fingers crossed. If we say it's like 15 with 3 mil add-ons, then maybe like 12 or 13 and just save the money off the contract bill. Maybe that's probably what I'd take. Tiz?
I think just 10 to 12.
Yeah,
I'd say.
It's true. Mikey?
I wouldn't let him go.
Wouldn't let him go.
Ooh.
No, because you look at him, like, physically he's very well, physically he does fit the Premier League because he's very tall and he's actually statistically been one of our better defenders this year. Just he has made a couple of mistakes, and you've seen with Jack Stevens that someone can, from nowhere, bounce back and be back into the first team.
Yeah.
So if Vestergaard can adapt, work hard, and he said that he wants to work hard as well, he wants to stay and fight for his place.
Yeah.
I don't think we should get rid of him because we're not going to make the money back on him than that what we paid for him. So what's the point in letting him go?
There you go.
Yeah.
So who was that question from, Tiz? Sorry.
That was from Ollie with underscores under between each letters.
I was just going to say, before you go into the next one, we do answer every question, so they can get them on the Instagram. So as long as they're on topic and we can actually answer them, we answer every single question. So if you are thinking you want to hear your question answered for next episode, then keep an eye out, and next week you can have your question answered. Saying that, Tiz, next question.
Dan Hurst, 96.
Hey.
Should we sell
Friend
the
of the show.
Celtic loanees? Those,
I don't think Celtic have enough money to pay for them both. But if they were going to go for one of them, probably go for Forster, and I'll happily sell him. Even though I'd like to have him back at the club, I don't think he wants to come because the fans did treat him like the S word.
Yeah. I think it's just the fit, isn't it? It's just the Premier League is so intense in the fact that you require the absolute best impossible. And I think in Celtic you sometimes get given that extra chance, and he's built off that confidence that he's been that playing time and the speed of the Scottish league has meant that he's been able to build his reputation back up. And I think it's just that in the Premier League it's very cutthroat, and one mistake and then the pressure's suddenly on you. So I think it suited him to get his confidence back, and I don't know whether we want to lower his worth again by giving him another chance and like he could, a bit like the West Ham game, come in and it not quite fall right for him. So if his value's up and the money's right, then I can see us letting go. But there we go. Your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I'm similar. I'd similar to JB and you, to be fair. I don't think they can pay for them, but I think if anyone's going to go, it'll probably be Forster, and then Ellie Newsby will probably get loaned out to another team. We might just get loaned back out to Celtic, and then we'll sell him the next year.
Yeah,
I could see that happening because those two are definitely transfer deadline day deals in the summer. They'll take a long time to get rid of, but.
And I also think Celtic really like bringing back old players of theirs. Like, I think they've been targeted with Wanyama. Like Forster got a very good reception when he came back, so it might hit well with the fans as well if they're able to secure Forster back. Yeah, Mike, any thoughts before we move on?
They're pretty much the same as you guys. I wouldn't mind him being sold. Wouldn't mind him being sold, but then again, like, if he comes back, fine by me as well. It's just really getting the wages off the books, because if Forster's on 70k, Ellie Newsy's going to be on around 50k, 120k wages to be spent on players that we can actually keep instead of ones that we keep loaning out.
For true. Right, next question, Tiz.
Dan Hurst, next question is about the Leicester game, so we'll cover that when we get to it. But it's one afterwards, and this one, second to last, is tackle of the decade is Oscar Goben versus Saints versus Bournemouth in 2013. Do any of you remember that flying challenge?
Yeah, it was amazing.
To be honest, I can't remember it. I'm not gonna lie.
Maybe he can't.
Very sure. It's just brilliant.
I can't. Wait, can you? I honestly can't remember it. I don't know if that makes me a plastic or whatever, but I can't remember this.
I can remember it because it was when it was I think it's what's his name? The guy that used to present the show after Match of the Day with Steve Claridge. I can't remember his name.
I haven't got Scooby, mate.
I'm sorry, but yeah, it was when we only had those like 30 seconds to a minute highlights, and it was like right at the end, and he just absolutely flew through him. But his last one is, what are your thoughts of the Charlie Austin comments? And also his ones that we'll combine Wesley Hoyt with that as well.
Yeah, okay, we can chuck both of those in.
Charlie Austin is a mug.
Well, he's come out and said, so Tiz, if you can just, I'm sure most people have seen it, but give us an overview, because it came out on the West Ham thing. You put it up on the Twitter. If you can
West Ham? No,
not West Ham, West Brom.
The mighty West Bromwich.
Right, okay, so if you give us a quick...
It was quite surprising that it came out on their official website. But he says, basically, that the Saints players didn't have any cojones when he was talking to Mark Hughes. And as soon as like Fonte sort of left, it sort of fell to pieces, let's say.
What?
Yeah, that's the sort of...
Fonte was leading the dressing room.
Definitely,
where Joel first came in, and then as soon as he left, there wasn't a lot left there.
No. And I think he's right to an extent, but I think he likes to make himself look the hero. And the fact that he said that Mark Hughes pulled him aside and said, what's wrong with these lot? And then Austin coming in and saying that he became the kind of leader. I think he's trying to push that to make himself look a little bit better. But in terms of... Yeah, go on.
It's a bit... I think during it he said something like he did a team meeting where he basically shouted at everyone, and that's the reason why we beat Bournemouth and we stayed up.
Yeah.
So that one team meeting made us get to an FA Cup semi-final and stay up in the end, which is stupid. But
I think that's the bit where it's a bit off course. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was kind of a little bit of a lack of motivation or a lack of leaders in that side, because Fonte embodied both of those when he was at the club. He was the leader in that dressing room, and once he left in a kind of awkward fashion that he did, it probably did disrupt the team mentality.
Do you think it was needed, those comments? Because he's left quite a while ago. Things have gone quiet recently. No. Do you think it was needed to just...
That's his character, isn't it?
Bring that up?
That's his character. Like he overran his mouth about VAR. He flicking the V signs at the away fans at St Mary's. He's talked too much on Twitter and fell out with the Saints fans while he was still at us. That's just his character. He is bitter. He's got quite a big mouth on him, and that's going to fall him into controversies. And he is going to say what he thinks. He's not really going to have that filter that you kind of expect with model professionals. But that's who he is, really.
The original question was...
I think he's also quite upset, and I think it's both Hoyt and Austin are both quite upset that Ralph didn't think that they were good enough. I think they're quite upset because you look around the squad, and I think Charlie Austin's a little bit miffed that Shane Long's still there, and they've signed another English striker, and Danny Ings is now on form and is the new Lord and Saviour, because I think Austin quite liked that role of the Lord and Saviour of Southampton, and Ings has now just outscored him in any of the seasons that he's actually played him for us in half the season. And I don't think Hoyt's too happy, because he probably thought he was one of the best centre backs at the club, and he's just been out to Belgium of all places. So
what interests me about that is the fact that in that interview he comes across as quite confident in his own abilities, and he's saying that I was best in the training tests, and I went out on loan and didn't get a word in. But on the pitch, he just had the complete opposite feeling, and the fact that he was almost nervy in everything that he did. When in this interview, it's coming across like he didn't put a foot wrong, and that he's either really like that and he's just being dismissive to what actually happened on the pitch, or he's putting up a face and trying to remain really positive about how he was and really not coming to terms with how he actually performed on the pitch. So either two of them, there's something a little bit off there. But we saw on the pitch, like, he wasn't a confident player in that position, and but I think it's just the way that he's come out saying that he, exerting this confidence through the interview. and it just doesn't hit right with the Saints fans because that's not what we saw on the pitch.
I'd argue that he was overconfident instead of
that's what I was thinking.
Because you look at some of the things that he did. I remember way at Bournemouth, he tried a Cruyff turn on the edge of the halfway line, where we had no players back, and he gave it away straight away, and Bournemouth scored directly from that. So I would argue it's not lack of confidence; it was overconfidence in his ability, because he just kept doing little things that would cause errors.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think it's just the little things that when he's taking those actions on the pitch, it seemed like he wasn't thoroughly going for them when it was like that Cruyff turn, or a lot of clearances that he did that ended in own goals or applying pressure to the defence. It wasn't like I'm going for it, I'm going to clear this, I'm going to do that. It just seemed like he got in a muddle when he wasn't confident in his actions in that kind of case. So, I don't know, that's just my take. But again, it didn't really work at Saints, did it? He's gone out on loan. You'd hope he'd remain professional, but again, we've got another interview coming through saying that he's been mistreated. So yeah, any final thoughts? I am just wary of time because we've still got questions to go. Any kind of quick final thoughts on that then?
Well, I just added it frustrates me to hear them say it when they didn't shirt to us on the pitch.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good way to end it, I think, boys.
Mm-hmm. Right,
Exactly.
who else do we have? James_Lee. Boufal is 90% not very good and 10% world class. What's your take on that?
Yeah.
What's your opinion on
Of
that?
course, Mikey agrees.
Well,
I'm a big Sofiane Boufal fan.
Right.
Personally, and I just think
if you are, I've got a delightful.
Harry, you know I'll buy that off you, but not for the price you bought it. Anyway.
Right. Okay. Back on topic, boys. Come on.
I mean, it just frustrates me because I really like the player. Mm-hmm. If his fitness was a bit better, he'd be amazing. And actually, the last dynamics and his attitude towards the game. So it's just two small things, he'd be world class.
Yeah, that's true. And that's obviously the reason why I bought him. We saw that raw talent that was there, and we just needed him to be moulded into a more professional player, in the fact that if he's not having a direct impact on the game, he can still do the basics. And whenever I'm watching him, he just frustrates me because sometimes even the basics aren't being done, and he's trying to go for the really, really difficult stuff, and that's not coming off. And when not even the basics are coming off, you get that, like the gentleman that sent it in, you just get 90% of it where it just doesn't work. And that's the frustrating thing. And to me, I think players should be given, and like Armstrong's come into it now and prove that he can do the basics well, and when he can assert himself and do the difficult parts, they do come off as well. So that's why Armstrong's been getting his run, and Boufal's still falling behind a little bit. So
he also did get injured as well, you have to remember that.
Yeah, true. But even if there was a completely fit Boufal or a completely fit Armstrong, both on form, I think Armstrong would probably edge Boufal. I don't know. Maybe that's just my personal opinion.
I'd agree. That's your opinion.
Okay. Right. Mikey, Tiz? Or are you happy to leave it there?
No, I completely agree.
I think that's fair. Steve_Russell. Happy with our recent performances, but there's still some areas of improvement. So where do you think we need to improve? Where do you think we need to improve in our performance?
Distribution down the line. I think it seems like that's a fall down of sometimes our play. Like, I know Mikey says that he's noticed that the ball sometimes goes down the line and down the wing, but it's just staying resilient in our tactics, and in the fact that if it does go down line, we need more options than just one down the line, and possibly something else offering in the middle. We're very confident in the middle, and it seems like our confidence in defence is coming back. It's just when we're maintaining that possession, not just punting up down the line to trigger the counter press, actually create a bit of possession as well. That's my only tactic that worries me slightly. Apart from that, I'm pretty happy. It looks pretty good so far.
I'm happy with the way that we're playing, because we actually look like we're playing with confidence, and it looks like we've got a system that works. I know you say like the punt down the line is frustrating, but if that's the way that we then press high, recover the ball, like it is just a tactic that sometimes works. Because the problem is, if you play Højbjerg and Ward-Prowse as two box-to-box players, they're just boards in the middle. They're not going to be deep line playmakers that are going to look to play through. Because the problem is, in the Premier League, we're just going to be outnumbered constantly.
Yeah.
With two central midfielders, because you get a lot of three midfield or like one with an attacking midfielder. So it'll make it very difficult to play through them. So I'm fine with the way.
But if that ball is down the line, the left back, you've got, and like you say, the two that are holding back in front of the defence, if they can't offer, then you'd hope that we'd either have a player down line that I guess the ball's trying to be, is it behind? Is that the tactic? It's going to try and go behind?
What the tactic is, we're trying to hit the ball in behind, and then either the striker, I think it's Shane Long runs onto it, or Danny Ings runs onto it, and then the winger that's out there, he'll cut inside and become a second striker as well.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're trying to do, and then if that doesn't work, we stop the press. If we win the ball high, it's then like we play the ball higher. Yeah. And I think that's where we struggle a little bit in breaking down teams. If we've pressed them high, then got the ball again, we struggle quite a bit breaking them down after that if we don't get them quickly. So I think that would be the only complaint, is that if we do keep the ball for a while, we do seem to be struggling to break down a team.
Yeah.
That's probably about it, really.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe it's just a plan B then. If that's the idea, just having a maybe a home formation and that 4-2-2. Like, I know we're only just getting to grips with the 4-2-2, and it's currently coming into fruition. But if we're playing a lower league side, that's right, and we need to break them down. Possibly putting that playmaker in the middle where that space is taken away and overloading that midfield and trying to find that, try and find that space or that shot or that little bit there, just to alter it slightly so we can break down teams a little bit better. But so far, it's all right. Any other questions, Diz? Sorry, we've been
all of them are sort of the same. Ryan Combe. We've got who else is there? Alexi _ They're just talking about transfer. So should we just go into Mikey's segment? What's the transfer news currently?
In this very short period of time, I've found 6 transfer rumours that are probably fake, but we'll talk about them anyway.
What?
Of course, because you never know about sources or anything like that, isn't it? It's Twitter.
So everything we're about to tell you is fake, but just listen anyway.
Well, you can go, little plug here, you can go on the Saints Prime podcast Twitter, Saints Prime Pod, and we do put a little bit of transfer rumours on there as well, so you can go and have a look. I think we've put 3 or 4 players. We do always quote our sources as well, depending on, but normally they're main ones. There was one that I put out there that might be a half punt, but most of them normally do have sources, and they're the main ones that we're targeted with. And I do normally try and keep an eye on it, but there's 3 or 4 that I keep an eye on there at the moment. But yeah, back to Mikey. He's the transfer guy.
We've had the usual link that we've had with Jared Bowen from Hull City to bring in a new winger from Hull. Yeah, I've already said that, haven't I? I was playing in the Championship, playing really well this year.
Who did he play for?
Hull.
Oh, Mikey, I'm a bit confused. Who does he play for, by the way?
Anyway. Right, yeah. Right, come on. Play nice. Mikey, carry on.
I don't want to do it anymore.
No, come on, no press drop.
We've also got Tino Kadewa. He plays for Le Havre in Ligue 2. He scored 17 goals in 19 appearances this year. He's a striker. And he plays the pressing forward role quite well. He likes putting in a tackle. He likes pressing high. Apparently, he does have some disciplinary issues, but that's fine. You want an aggressive striker to be able to press at some point.
He's also been valued at 10 million, so which was one of the ones that we targeted on the Saints Prime podcast Twitter. So go check it out.
Ibrahim Eze, who's the QPR youngster, 21-year-old, also playing really well in the Championship this year, and he's also been linked with Chelsea during this window too. But in all fairness, everyone's been for Chelsea. Rafael da Silva, the right back from Lyon, who used to play for Manchester United, he's been linked as either a first choice or a backup to Cedric or Valerie. Lallana on a free transfer at the end of the season has also been linked because his contract is running out, and apparently, according to the source, it's going to be announced next week.
Yeah, rubbish.
Right. Also, Mahele from Genk, the young Belgium lad,
right back.
Yeah. So it's basically, and going into the press conference, Ralph was asked about. Because he said that they were hoping to act early in the transfer window, and currently 9th of January, nothing's happened. It's only been rumours, apparently no bids have been put in. So, and he commented on the fact that they're still looking for a fullback, they're still looking for players, and 2 signings are probably definitely going to happen in this window, hopefully. And I think he also made a comment on Che Adams saying that he's not going to go unless they can find cover.
Yeah, fair enough.
Nice.
I also heard we were targeted with Todibo from Barca, but there were some of the bigger boys that got in. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that, but it was like AC Milan, Monaco, everyone.
Yeah.
So
and another transfer source. I'm coming to talk here, boys. The former Manchester United right back Rafael has been offered to us from Lyon.
I've done this. I've done this, Jamie. Listen to me, right?
Oh God, right. Right, Mikey, if you can move on to press conferences while Jamie regains his composure. So, press conferences. So we did actually catch Mikey caught the press conference this week because we had a couple of weeks where we actually missed them, like in sync, like completely missed them in a couple of weeks. But you were able to actually have a look at the press conference that happened today. We're recording on a Thursday, so it happened today. What can you tell us on the press conference, Mike?
So team news is alright. It's only Valerie that's still out with his viral infection or whatever he had. In the end, again, with not signing a player yet, they're still in the market and they're looking for fullbacks.
Yeah.
There was a question about James Ward-Prowse and how well he's been playing, and there was also a question about Jack Stevens, but a lot of it was like he wanted to focus on the team, not individual players. Now the team have really stepped up over the last couple of weeks. I think it's 16 points in 8 games, which is a fantastic return over Christmas.
Definitely.
And the quote from Jack Stevens' turnaround is, he got on the train as it was speeding up. So,
all right, nice.
Very similar to Nigel Adkins' quote of Jason Punchin.
Yeah.
And when he quoted,
on the bus.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, that was basically the main press conference thing. And he was also asked about the Southampton Twitter page putting up the blocking 9-0.
Yeah.
Moving comments from 9-0.
Yeah.
And he just said that he doesn't really follow the social media, so he can comment.
Okay.
So you're telling me he doesn't follow Saints Prime podcast?
Oh, mate,
No,
that's
that I
disgrace.
don't believe.
But to be fair, when you're going back to the transfer target thing and the fact they're still looking, as long as they're looking for their targets at the moment, like I'm not going to be too worried about them taking their time as long as it doesn't interfere with the price that we're going to pay and the time period that we're going to have to pay for it. As long as we've got a decent idea of, you probably think they've finished the shortlisting, they're now looking at the videos or whatever, or narrowed it down. But as long as we can get decent targets in and not panic buy near the end, we've got the whole window to have a look at it. And you think, if we can actually get a decent player in, and we took our time to have a look at them as well, rather than just taking a stab and getting another player who's not quite right on the wage bill again, it might not be the end of the world. So, yeah, I'm not too. A lot of people are voicing their concerns that we still haven't signed anyone yet, but to me, it's not too much of a problem. I think we can be patient.
Days in as well. Come on.
Yeah, there we go. Right, okay, so we're talking about transfer targets and things like that. As also mentioned in the fans forum that our own Harry Tizard went and featured at. If you can go and give us a little summary of that.
I will indeed. If you want to see me, you can see the back. You can see the back of my head in the start of the video, my blonde hair. So that's me.
So massive.
Right in the front.
Yeah.
Right in the front. I've got plenty of points. We'll just go from the start. To start with, there's the same old Mr. Gal sort of questions about, what does he want for the team? What do they expect of him? And it's just the same answers of it's a sustainable club and he just wants us to win. Basically, they gave absolutely nothing else away. He wants to grow the market in China. That's why he invested, and he's not looking to sell as well. That's where the rumours earlier in the season, but that's sort of been pushed away because Martin Simmons, I believe his name is, said that obviously if a Premier League club is not a short-term investment, you won't make money short-term, it has to be long-term.
Yeah.
The second point, there was a complaint about the season tickets, which was a total of 5 minutes and 56 seconds wasted on the price of tickets, which I personally found a bit frustrating because he could have probably asked anyone. He could have asked me why the Tottenham tickets were so expensive and why other ones were cheaper. It was just the answers of you've got to fill stadiums. That's why they go down in price, and they went up in price because it's a Category A game as well. And they also rubbished a star game, and they also rubbished out the ideas that they're priced so high to deter away fans from going in the grounds as well. Next one, Hasenhüttl insisted that we don't need leaders. We don't need to bring in leaders because he says that everyone's a leader. Rather than having talkers, he wants runners and fighters. What do you think about that? So he doesn't mind not having leaders in the squad.
It relies a lot on the tactic, and if the tactic works, that's great. It's just, you've got quite a young squad there, and what he's saying there is everyone does their own position right, then there should be no faults, and it should work perfectly. The only slight thing I've got about that is the fact that it doesn't always go right absolutely perfectly. You're going to have workers, and everyone's got to do their right role, and they know their exact right role, but sometimes you just need a calming presence, or someone that just... I think Stevens takes up that role quite well as well. Like, even if he's not been told he needs to do that, whatever, you've got a captain on your team for a reason, or Stevens, again, a person who knows the club well and can just relax that team and give constructive criticism, not shouting at someone or something like that. Just leading and calming the game down and be able to control the game a little bit. I think that just comes with a player like that. He's not necessarily a leader, but he's just a player that can take that responsibility. But if he's confident in his system and that he doesn't need any specific leaders, then I think that's a good sign.
Trust in Ralph.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mikey? Because Ralph himself says that it's like the English media or English fans are big on leaders, and like you've been quite vocal about it. So what are your thoughts of him sort of rubbishing the idea that we need a lot of leaders? And he says that we've got a lot of leaders, but the conventional leader.
I think it was more of like towards the start of the season, it was more down to the fact that you couldn't actually see a leader in that pack. But now you look at the starting 11, Ward-Prowse definitely has become more of a leader. He's grown into the role. Stevens has come in and become a leader. Højbjerg, I think, has definitely got better. I would argue that Danny Ings and Shane Long up top, those two have become a bit more leader type as well. Like you've seen, like at the end of games and stuff like that, Shane Long used to just go down the tunnel straight away. He didn't really used to clap the fans or anything like that. Now he's coming over, he's celebrating with players, high-fiving players. So I think he's grown into the role as well of leadership too. So I think there's we've gone from, like, if you compare it to the Leicester game, we've gone from no leaders whatsoever. It looked like everyone was just individuals out there, to now having like a small bunch of them. So I don't think we do need like a leader in January. It was only just because, like, you looked at some of the players that did leave top clubs. Gary Cahill, one of them, like he could have been brought in and being the exact leader. But I think it's either you bring in that leader now, or in the summer, or you just let the players grow into their roles. And I think that's what's happened this season. So. Yeah,
that's the thing is that's why we bring Adam Lallana back, old captain.
No, shut up.
No.
Right, any other points, Diz?
There's quite a few. Ralph addressed the difference in home form compared to the away form and said that he wanted to wear yellow kits at home because apparently when they had to red and red and white, they thought, fudge cakes, we're going to concede first. They had a bit of a joke, but I thought that was a bit of an odd question considering now we've technically won more games at home rather than away. Maybe a few months ago that would have been ideal. But, because we're sort of making the ground a fortress now at the moment, I feel. Especially because it's more, the ground's more atmospheric than I've ever felt it before. I thought that was a bit odd. They addressed VAR, which took 4 minutes and 53 seconds out of the allotted time, which that was odd because that's nothing they can change. It was interesting to hear their opinions, but you could probably listen to any of Ralph's press conferences over the last 3 months and he would have said his opinions then. Safe standing is in their thoughts and keeping a close eye on the government's legislation on it. But their sort of thinking behind that is that, if we put it in the Northern, there's going to be people that can't wait to have standing up. But there's also people that, don't want to stand up in the Northern. So they don't want to, frustrate others, which I sort of agree with. But then there's going to be people in other areas of the stadium that want to stand up so they could just switch around,
and a lot of people around me.
That doesn't quite work like that. But
I'm block 42 Northern, I think, and in most home games, everyone's stood up anyway, and it's normally a sign of a bad game when you're told to sit down. So I think there would be no issues in the block 42 and probably is it Itchen North, the other side of the away fans? That strip down there being probably safe standing as well. And if you could do it, if you were implementing it, obviously they're going to give time before the season ticket holders, and if they could have some sort of either discount or something like that, just to please the fans, just in case they don't want to go safe standing or their seat has been replaced by safe standing, I'm sure there's a solution for them there. Like, I know people are very loyal to where they sit and things like that, but then I'm surely they can do a replacement or something like that if their seat gets taken. They don't want to go safe standing.
Yeah, I think an announcement really has to be done round about now to actually get
people prepared.
Be prepared and have, when season tickets do get released, they don't just spring it on them then.
Yeah. Jamie, far away.
With safe standing, just to clarify for the viewers, listeners, who may not understand what it is, do you want to clarify for everyone?
They can stand and it's safe.
Yeah, so what do they add in to make the difference? Do they put their handlebars?
Yeah,
that's what it was like at Wolves. That's what it's like at Wolves. It's just the idea of being able to stand and it's safe. Yeah. So they can probably think the idea that there's going to be rails there. That's probably all there is, to be fair. That's what it was at Wolverhampton, and it does help the atmosphere quite a lot.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the next bit, Ralph is happy to stay at Southampton. He says he enjoys the challenge.
Good.
And I'm trying to find the quote. He said it's the best job he can imagine, and he wants to stay for a very long time. What's your thoughts on that one? That smells like Sadio Mane when he said to Charles that he's going to stay. I know he's got to say it, but at least he's now put it on record that he wants to stay.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we've got a reason to get upset when he leaves.
Yes.
There we go. We've got our little backup.
Well, at the end of the day, that's always been our turnaround. It's people perform well, do well at us, and we keep the turnaround going by creating good performances. So as long as it's benefiting the club, I'd be really sad to see Ralph go, because he's been, like I've said on record, he's been one of the best managers we've seen in about half a decade. So I've been really enjoying his tenure at the club. But if he has to move on because the time's right, it's better to let him go and continue that cycle rather than, holding a manager against his will to stay at a club.
Let's not talk about Ralph leaving.
No, let's move on.
Yeah, it did feel like there was proper truth behind it, because when someone asked him, he did give like a very long answer about why he was happy and why he enjoyed the challenge. It wasn't just a yes or a no. He did give a properly solid answer. The next one, Ralph said that they need new fullbacks in the January market. We've sort of said this already. He said that Vokins is not ready for Premier League action as of yet, suggesting he needs to work more against the ball and get stronger. So despite Vokins' impressive game against Huddersfield, it doesn't look like he's going to get any Premier League games as of yet. So whoever says Vokins is going to be the breakout star at the start of the season, unlucky. I don't think that's going to come to fruition.
Okay. Next one, Tiz.
Matt Crocker's been brought in to bring back the Southampton way, and Crocker called Toby still a part of our board wanting to come back to the Saints. So it wasn't us trying to get him as much. It was him wanting to come back, which is nice to see, to leave England and come back to us.
Yeah.
Ralph Harsluter admitted that we were one of the worst teams 2 months ago and playing so, but now we're one of the best. What else is there? Disappointed not to bring in a left back in the summer, but guarantees we'll do something in this transfer window.
Interesting.
Ooh.
Okay. Well, we've seen targets being, and I don't think rumours come out of nowhere. There's always some sort of truth behind them, whether how much truth there is or not. But yeah, I can see us bringing someone in. Right.
Someone asked. My next point was someone asked about the assistant manager, which I thought was a bit strange, because you could probably I don't know his name off the top of my head, but you could probably search it up on Google or go to the Saints.
Danny Robb.
No, not him. He's gone.
No, he's gone.
It's Richard Kerblergener, isn't it?
I thought that was really odd, because the amount of times people asked about the assistant manager, and they literally posted on their Twitter when it got announced that we got an assistant manager. I thought that was a bit strange. New page. Last year, they believed they're further ahead than they were. And Simmons said they invested in some of the wrong players at the wrong time, in the wrong market, in the wrong way. So it shows they admitted they were wrong, which is an interesting thing. A lot of wrongs. And he also said him and Harsnuit have regular conversations about looking into the future rather than the here and now. So that's good, because Harsnuit is obviously looking further along than just this season.
Mm-hmm.
What else is there? Simmons said that a team needs to have a bit of everything rather than overload on a particular asset. So we need more than just strong players and fast players. We need both of that combined with loads more factors, which is obvious, but it's just good to hear him say it. Ralph doesn't want to sell a player for 80 million, such as Ings, and buy 4 for 20 million. He wants to keep our best players, which is different to our old strategic way of doing things. Simmons also, addressed the fact that they've kept faith in Ralph, which is good, because I think someone was once again moaning about the prices of tickets, and then he said that not they should be happy or thankful, but Southampton run the club so they don't spend millions on sacking managers and wasting the fans' money. They instead kept faith in Ralph, and thankfully it has paid off. And there's not really that many more points. The only other one was women's matches are unlikely to play at St Mary's this season and will stay at Totton to keep the atmosphere. My main feeling of the forum was more down to the fact that it was more press conference based rather than a fans forum. There was a lot of press conference based questions that you'd expect from journalistic people rather than fans wanting answers to the clubs. Well, and you've probably seen on my Twitter the amount of people that sadly didn't get in wanting to get very strong questions, which I agree with. But like I said on Twitter, I think they had it so that it was more happy clapper fans because the way some fans poise questions to the boards in quite an aggressive and not very nice manner in the past.
Well, I'll tell you this. Like, I was on the Saints, what do they call it? Saints Voice, right? And there was a gentleman on there who was very popular with the very extreme Saints fans in the fact that they were very passionate, wanted to know what was going wrong, and get in there and move it, get some stir and ask those hard questions and stuff like that. And to be fair, in meetings he was very vocal and he was very very passionate in the questions that he asked. But I'll tell you the truth here: if you're asking it on Twitter, it's already being asked internally, and probably much before you've mentioned it. And pretty much every question that was asked came back with a logical response on why it's not been done. Ticket prices and things like that at the start of the season were changed. And if you are interested, you can read the minutes of the Saints morning meetings. I'm not with them anymore, but everything they do talk to with the club is put in minutes and is written down. And if those changes haven't been made, it's probably because they're already working on a solution, or those solutions can't be put in logistically. There was a lot of changes and things like that they do try and implement that fans want to see, because there's people in the club that are fans as well and are making those logical assumptions like the fans. But if you're putting it towards them, they're most likely creating a response. And to be fair, on the last fans forum, was it the last one where everyone was like jeering and clapping at the basically Les Reed getting?
It might have been the one before. I think it was the last one that Les Reed was on.
The only things that were being brought up were mistakes being made by the board, but they're only humans, and yes, they made mistakes, but it's not out of them being incompetent or being lazy or anything like that. It's just mistakes that they've made. It's been unlucky transfers, or things have gone wrong, or bad appointments, and things that have gone right in the past just went wrong that time. And so before you do want to slate there or turn up just to ask hard pressing questions and make the players feel like the members of the board feel uncomfortable, just remember there's a person on the other side there as well, and if you're thinking it, they've probably already thought it as well. So just to defend the happy clapper that is Harris's side, I'll just put the other side of it.
I remember last time that someone directly said to Liz Reed that he should resign, and then everyone clapped after that, and it's just like I've put on Twitter, it's not us versus them. They created a tribal mentality. We're both trying to get to the same end goal. Exactly, so there's no need to put it across that way. And people did agree with me, but they probably weren't happy to hear that I was going against a lot of football Twitter accounts. Other things that I picked up, questions were sort of pre-prepared. When you had to apply, you had to put 3 questions down, and then they went to certain people with to ask them to then ask their questions. So I think they were sort of pre-prepared at times, but there were times where fans could ask their questions that they wanted, so maybe not. And I also felt there was lots of times that their time was wasted through wasted questions, and that sounds harsh, but the VAR, I think that was a slight waste of time, maybe the tickets as well. And there was also a time where someone asked about he fell out of love with the club, which is disappointing to hear. But he also said about Under Armour and how it was like the kit was delayed, and that's not really the board's fault. That's nothing they've not gone out of their way, like Toby still said. They've not gone out of their way to give late shirts, and they've lost so much. They probably lost, like you said, so much money from that as well. Yeah. So there was a bit of time wasted through those questions, but that's what you get at the end of the day. Not all questions are going to be perfect.
Right. Okay. So any last final thoughts on that? Because I'm just wary of time. Any thoughts, Tiz? There was a lot of information going on there, but we can absorb it. But to be fair, most things
actually, more. We are looking to replace Les Reed. We are looking to replace Les Reed, and the candidates that we're looking at, the current Les Reed, the candidates that we are looking at are currently at different clubs, so it's more going to be at the end of the season. Yeah. That's what Martin Simmons said.
The final thing I'd like to add is Harry Tizard was sat in the front row and didn't ask a question at all.
No, I was really disappointed about that too. A representative of the Saints Prime podcast didn't pop. Just a.
Go. I'm Harry Tizard from the Saints Prime podcast. Ralph, why did you love Southampton so much?
Yeah, there you go. We could have had you doing an interview and put it in on the podcast, couldn't we? We could say this is a question from the Saints Prime podcast, and then we could have put that in. Chance wasted. Anyway, but we'll move on.
I'll be on there next time.
Yeah. So we'll give a go of what we think the game is going to go like. Obviously, it's going to be a difficult one. We know that coming into it. But how are you boys feeling when how are you feeling going into the game?
I don't see how we're going to lose, to be honest. I'll say it for Huddersfield.
Yeah.
We'll say it again. I know it sounds silly. But they're going to rest a lot of their players due to the Aston Villa game. Especially, hopefully, Jamie Vardy as well. Mate, Jose Perez started as well. I know that. I'm not saying I can't see a way. I know I just said that. But I find it difficult just because the confidence, and I think we're the fourth best team in form since the 9th of November or something like that. I think we've got a really good chance of giving them a really good game.
Yeah, I think we will have a good game. I think we'll go at them and we will do what we do best. The formation is now working and we're going to be doing our pressing style. It's basically, if we take our opportunities right and we stay solid in defence, we will have a real chance in this game. And hopefully the form we're on at the moment will ensure that. But it's the players, whether they can again keep that great form going, take their chances when they can, and stay solid, stay solid, and then we should give them a really good go. And at the moment, it's one of those ones where we're coming into the game, and again, it's one where we've had a good chance. We were unlucky in the start of the season where we were playing people at almost the worst opportunities, whereas now Leicester going to be tired off a midweek game. We're on great form. Home forms not home, but away. We're good away from home, so we've got a good chance, and hopefully we can take advantage.
I'm a bit sceptical of this game, to be honest with you. I get they're resting players for the Carabao Cup. However, Leicester at home are a very dangerous side because their fans are a very committed side.
What?
Very committed fan base. And when they get behind the team, there's no stopping Leicester City. So I think I do see us getting a win out of this game. However, if I have my honest opinion, I think there'll be a draw.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm thinking a draw. Mikey, what are you thinking?
I think it'll be quite a close game. Definitely, hopefully, not a repeat of last time that we met with Leicester. We don't have to talk about it, but it's fine. I think it'll be exciting, hopefully, and a good game. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and you got to look at it and say we're doing really good at the moment, and like I've already previously said, Leicester are tired. We've got to take opportunities when we can and kick on from this form and really help us get these points on the board while we can. You don't know how long form's going to last. You've got to take your opportunities while they're there, and if you can, you've got to capitalise.
Yeah.
So yeah, team sheet.
Do you think there'll be any PTSD going into this fixture from the 9-0 loss?
I don't think that.
That was the Dan Hurst question, by the way. From
right, okay, yeah.
Depends if Ryan Bertrand gets sent off in the first 10 minutes.
Well, it'll be interesting. I'll have a look and see what the team sheet looked like when we went into that game and how it's changed. But if you guys want to talk about how you actually think we're going to line up, and I'll have a look at how we lined up last time when we played them.
Same as usual.
Yeah, I can see us doing unchanged.
Do you think Shane Long will start up front with Danny Ings? Is that what you?
If he's fit, then yes. But if he's not, then no. I mean, I know that's quite a basic answer, but I think the Long Ings partnership is working quite well at the moment, and hopefully he can keep that going, because he did make an impact against Spurs in that last game he played against. He did make an impact against Spurs, so hopefully he'll start, get on the score sheet, and everything will be okay from there.
Yeah. So are we saying the same back four and the same two defensive midfielders as well? Are we just saying that straight away because that's sort of a guarantee for this one onwards? So, and then the attacking midfielders, then that's the only sort of place where we could see a switch up. Who do you think's going to start on the wings or the inverted wings?
I think Armstrong and Redmond are probably the two.
Yeah, and I'd be happy with that as well. Mm-hmm. I think Redmond sometimes finds it difficult to get in games away from home, but I think he will still have an impact, and he is still fairly decent on making an impact into the game. Once he gets on the ball and gets his confidence up into the game, I don't think he makes an immediate impact, but Armstrong, like normal, will have a good impact in the fact that he will run at defence, find those final passes, will help breaking it down, and if he's given the time, will have a pop at goal as well. So it's a good option. It's probably the front two that will be the most, Ings has got to start. We know his form at the moment. It's whether, I assume Shane Long's, not Mikey, summarised so perfectly. If Shane Long's fit, he'll probably play, and if he's not, he probably won't.
He would play in the strike.
He's fit because Valerie. I think Valerie's the only absentee for weekend, so I think he is fit, and I think he will start.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that. So, should we go for predictions then? What do you reckon the score's going to be?
It's a really tough fixture to say because, like Harry mentioned, the PTSD syndrome that could be in there for the game.
I think it's going to be 1-1. Now, it doesn't sound too exciting of a game, but I think it will be...
Well, that is a shock, Ollie predicting 1-1 for a fixture. That is a turn up for the books.
Well, I don't know. I'm fairly... I don't let my heart make a decision. I'm not going to go, right, 3-1, we're going to win it 3-1. I think... But I'd be happy with a 1-0. I'll say it now. If we go to Leicester and we get a 1-0, I'll be pretty happy with that. What are your guys' thoughts?
Funny you say that, because I was going to say 3-1 to us.
Oh, okay. Well, do you want to say that on record?
I'll put that on record. 3-1 victory, because I think they're going to rotate their team. And even if not, we'd win 2-1.
Okay.
Well, are they playing their next game after us?
They might be, actually. I'm pretty sure. I think so. Or maybe the week after that. I'll have a quick check-up whilst
if it is the next game after this, and they've rotated side, I can see us taking a 1-0. However, if it's not such a rotated side, but they're obviously with resting players as they played this strong side against Villa, I will probably predict a 2-2, so it's not the same as Ollie, rather than a 1-0.
Okay, 2-2.
No, the second leg isn't until the 28th of January.
Okay. I honestly think, I know this isn't like a straight score or anything. I think if we can get 3 points away at Leicester, I think could be one of the stories of the season. Can you think what a fantastic turnaround it would be if we can have a 1-0, 2-0 away at Leicester, having lost 9-0 to them early in the season and beat them away from
Think of the headlines.
One of the stories of the season. So I'll go 2-0.
2-0. Hey.
And Shane Long on the score sheet. Fingers crossed.
Well, he was there. We won last time, so why can't we do it again?
Well, predictions are locked in now, so you can join. Well, they are. They're locked in. So you can join us with. So our first ever reaction to the game was recorded on a win, basically against Leicester after that 9-0 loss. But we will do that again. I think they go down really well, those reactions after the game. And to be fair, the support straight after the new year with the new branding and things like that, and all the support on the podcast has come in really well. So it's been really nice to see. We haven't got a set target at the moment. I know we did that near the end of the year, but we definitely, the support's been great. And if you can keep that, that's great. Leave a review and things like that. That's really important. But yeah, we'll see you next time for the Leicester game. What I'll quickly shout out, get your questions in for the next week's preview. Maybe even do some reactions to a Leicester game, depending on how it goes. So any reactions or questions come in. Yeah, if he remembers. But if he does remember, they'll be on the Instagram.
I remember Harry, this week.
You can
Saints
give it
Prime on the Instagram.
Exactly.
Yeah. Get in touch.
Go on there. Look at the story, and it should be on there. And also on the Twitter as well. Like I said, we've already got transfer rumours that we kind of went through today. Other little bits and bobs that come up, we try and put that on there when we can. And it's basically the best way to keep up to date on when the new episodes come out. We put all the links to basically the most popular hosts that come out there, and you can go and get the latest episode from there. But yeah, well, like I say, we'll see you for the next episode. It's been me, Ollie. I've also been joined by
Harry.
Jamie Allen, the greatest podcast host of all time. Mikey.
Okay, and Mikey. There we go. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Up the Saints.